Hello, and welcome to Math 126, Applied Statistics for the Summer 2018 session. My name is Mike Deal, and I will be your professor and guide through statistics for the next 7 or 8 weeks. This video is just an intro video to get you oriented for the course, show you how to purchase the online homework system and ebook, go through our Canvas page, and go through our syllabus, which is what we're looking at right now. So once you finish with this video, which should get you all set up and ready to go, you can begin the course. It's pretty much self-paced. I'll go through the dates for everything when we get over to Canvas. But let's start here with the syllabus, this is posted on Canvas if you want to look at it, or you can probably just follow along here. So our semester is May 29th through July 22nd, which is about 8 weeks or 7.5 weeks or something like that. So, which should be a reasonable amount of time for this material, and it will be roughly something due every week. So it kind of works out nicely. This is me here. I'm a math and computer science professor in the day school here at Endicott. And as we are wrapping up our spring semester right now, I will not really actually be physically around during the summer, but so my office is in the LSB, but I won't really be there. So maybe don't stop by, or you can if you want. And maybe also don't call me, because I don't really check my voicemail during the summer either. So, but if you do need me, please feel free to email. That's definitely the best way to get in contact with me. Or I think through Canvas it lets you send me a message or something. That's fine. It just gets sent to my email. So please feel free to reach out to me if you need anything. This course is a fairly typical intro to statistics course. If you've known people to take an intro to stats class elsewhere, they probably more or less do these topics. So it's fairly typical. It is a good class in the sense that, I think statistics they're certainly all around us. You can't really go a day, I don't think, without hearing something about data, or some survey was done and this percent of people say this and things like that. So it certainly is a good sort of life material that would hopefully maybe give you some perspective on things. And more narrowly, for those of you, especially in business and social science areas, statistics are certainly already important or becoming much more important. Some of you might go on to take a research methods, sort of like a pre-thesis or senior thesis courses. And in many areas, those involve crunching numbers and working with data. So this is an intro at least to that. There's certainly way more to be said afterwards, so we will not get to everything by any means. But this should provide a nice foundation for any future coursework that you might be taking in these areas. There is an outline here, which maybe you know some of these terms and maybe you don't, but that's all right. This is mostly just because I'm supposed to put one on there, and ditto for learning outcomes. Let's hope that you learn stuff. That would be nice. The book that we'll be using is an ebook, which I'll show you in a few minutes. It's a fairly typical statistics textbook that will be bundled with the online homework system, which is called My Stat Lab. Is a sort of platform, I guess, for both online homework. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there, but we'll mostly be using it as the gateway to access the ebook. But also, this is where you will go to complete all the homework assignments, is in this My Stat Lab, which I'll show you a little bit later. For other things to sort of have access to, you need Microsoft Excel installed on some machine that you have regular access to. This could be a computer at work, a computer at home, a friend's computer, whatever you can do to get your hands on it. If you're local, the library on campus here, and probably even most town libraries, probably have Excel on them. You don't need that much time with it. You just do need it, though, to do computation. So Anyway, hopefully you can get your hands on a machine that has Excel somewhat easily and cheaply. But you do need it. I'll be showing you how to do everything in Excel rather than on a calculator or, sort of by hand, which is pretty awful. Um, so Excel is a wonderful, wonderful thing that it does make you not have to really do any math per se. Now you still have to obviously know what to ask it to do for you, but it saves you from a lot of the sort of traditional headaches, I think, that happen in a lot of math classes. So make sure you do have some. Any version is fine. If you're on a Windows machine, if you're on a Mac, if you're on any, even an old version that's 10 years old of Excel is fine. The only version or situation that I've had students have some issues with is if you're trying to do it on an iPad, which I guess they do sell an Excel version for iPads, or maybe it's free or cheap, and that's why people do it. It doesn't really work because you have to be able to highlight stuff, and so without a mouse, it's sort of awkward on an iPad or other tablet device. So I think you'll want to make sure it's on some sort of computer or laptop or something like that. The other thing you might want is just a basic calculator. You could even probably use a calculator on your phone, just for simple computations, which, sometimes Excel would be overkill to ask it to, take the average of three numbers or compute a square root of something is perhaps easier just on a calculator. So you may want one of those if you find it handy. Lectures for the course, everything will be on Canvas for the course content. So we'll go over to my stat lab for all the homework, but all of the course content will just be in Canvas. And the lectures are videos of me basically doing this, what you're watching right now, except that rather than going through the syllabus, it's me teaching you all of the material. And these videos will all be, these are obviously grouped by topic. And the idea would be that after you watch the however many videos there are, some weeks there's only a couple, other weeks there's more like 5 or 6, you will know the material. You'll watch me do examples, do all the usual stuff that you would get in a regular class. And then you can go over and try the homework after watching the lecture videos. So, right. Oh, and I also will either in the videos, or I think for one of the weeks I made a separate video of showing you how to do everything in Excel. So do watch the videos. I would in fact say that for the harder topics especially, you may want to watch them a couple of times. There's probably on average 5 hours or so, maybe sometimes a little less than that, 3 to 5 hours, let's say, of videos per week that you will watch to learn the material. And like I said, probably, especially for the harder ones, you should bank on having to watch them a few times to fully sort of get all of the details and information and examples and all that good stuff. So that's that. Your grade is obviously important. It's a very simple formula. We'll have 2 exams. We'll have a midterm and a final. The midterm is on the first half and the final is on the second half of the course. Those add up to be 3/4 of your grade. That's 75%. And then the weekly homeworks will collectively add up to 20, the other quarter, the other 25%. Homework, now that I've mentioned it, is, like I said, will be in my stat lab. The questions there, if you've ever used an ebook or did online homework before, then you're used to this. If this is your first time, the ebook is, has problems just like a traditional paper textbook would have. But the way that this will work is that I'll show you, but you'll open up a window, open up an assignment, and there'll be questions that you answer. They're usually either multiple choice, fill in the blank kinds of things, which those are pretty self-explanatory, or they will be computations, and in fact, probably those are the most important questions, are the ones where it's going to say, okay, here's some stuff, now you go compute something and then type in your answer. There will be some quirks with, did you type it in exactly right, and things like that. But for the most part, it's a pretty intuitive system. It will give you some feedback. So if you answer a question wrong, it may say, hey, remember, blah, blah, blah. And it's giving you advice that may or may not actually be helpful. But it will let you make a second chance. And in some cases, maybe we'll even let you make a third guess. The most important thing to remember, though, is that you do have the option of, when you get a problem wrong, of asking for a similar problem. This will appear in the lower right corner of most of these problems. I'll show you when we get over there. And if you do that, it'll basically just regenerate a new version of the problem. Probably the same details, but just different numbers for the most part. And if you redo it, and get it correct, it still gives you credit. So you do have a lot of chances when it comes to the homework, to play around intelligently, but to play around and have a couple of other have more chances to guess, and redo problems. Um, so that's an option. I'll show that to you when we get over there. There is a whole bunch of other stuff in my stat lab that you are welcome to do. You paid for the thing, so you can do all the extra whatnots that they have for you, but they are not required. So only this homework assignments, which I'll show you where they are the only things you're ever going to get any credit for. There are due dates for the homeworks, which will be pretty clear when you get in there. So you do have to complete them by the due dates. If you do complete anything late, the system imposes, I believe it's 20% per day penalty on any work that's completed after the due date. So you do need to be mindful of the due dates. You can work ahead, though. You can, in fact, complete this entire course, in the first week if you want. There's no penalty for that. But you do have to make sure you have things turned in by the due dates. I will give a disclaimer now that I give many times, is that, of course, technology can sometimes act up on you, and that's not going to be an acceptable reason for something being late. So there's no exceptions to this rule. Exams will be in Canvas, so rather than in my stat lab, which is where we do the homework, exams will be in Canvas. Again, if you've taken a course, even if it was an in-person course, if you've taken a Canvas quiz or a Canvas exam, then you know that it's pretty, again, intuitive. If you've not before, this will just be, you'll go to Canvas, you'll click on midterm exam, and the exam will appear before you, and you'll take it. These are timed exams, so I'll of course remind you of these things when we get closer to them. You do want to make sure that you allow yourself enough time to complete it in one sitting. You can't start it, stop and then come back the next day and finish it. You only get one chance at these as well. So you have to be very, very, very prepared when you go to take the exams. And again, since they are most of your grade, will be these exams. This is really your moment to hopefully have all your all your best knowledges together and put your best performance out there. And so the last thing I'll just mention, right, is that this is an online course. In the traditional semester, this is a 15-week course, for an in-person class. So we're condensed by about half. So you will have to work significantly to get through the material. I'd say on average, you should expect to work about 20 hours a week, which some of you might be better doing that, at night after work, or weekends is certainly a place where I think a lot of people do a lot of the work for the course. But do sort of realize that is the expectation in order to make up the what is our total here? Oh, I didn't add it up. I think it's 135 hours of work, which in about 7 weeks breaks down to about 20 hours a week. So you do need to be prepared for this. I do realize it's summer, and probably there's a decent chance that it's maybe even at some point in this time frame you'll be on vacation. That's fine. You don't need to tell me that you're going to be on vacation or something, but also be aware that anything that's due while you're on vacation is still due on the due dates that are indicated in Canvas. So you do need to take it upon yourself to work ahead. This can be an overwhelming class. I will just be brutally honest and say that a reasonable percentage, I don't know, 20 to 25% of students typically either fail this course or withdraw, don't finish it. I don't say that to scare you out of the class. I just say that, it's not the kind of class that you can just sort of, hey, let me do a couple hours on Sunday afternoon and be done. That absolutely won't work. So if you're very, very busy, especially in these 7 weeks or in the next 2 months, basically, sometime between now and the end of July when the course ends, and you're not really going to have time to dedicate to this course, you may consider maybe withdrawing, in which case speak with whoever your contact is at Van Loan about that. This course does run in most semesters and in various formats. It's actually running this summer in person as well, if you're local, which sometimes that can be a better option for people. Anyway, just take this into consideration that it can be a lot of work. So just sort of be budgeted for that. If you do get extended time or other accommodations, please just let me know. Just send me an email, and the academic services office will send me an email and say, oh, this person gets the following accommodation. And it's very easy for me to do that in Canvas to give you extended time on exams if you qualify. So, okay, so that's it for the syllabus. Let me close that. And what else? Okay, so now we're on our Canvas page, which hopefully you've used Canvas before. If you haven't, here's our Canvas page. I'm always in modules. So I don't know how this exactly works from the student perspective, but I think the best thing to do is always just, if it doesn't already look like this when you get to our course, if you click on modules down here, you'll get the sort of preferred view of things. Because as you can see, the course material is organized by week. And it's, sort of organized by topic, of course. When there's an exam during a week, the exam is here as compared to content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's due dates for everything. I think I tried to lay this out so that the due dates were the thing that is due is the last thing in each of the groups here. So in weeks 1, 2, and 3, you have homework due. Week 4 is the midterm, so obviously your midterm will be due. And then weeks 5, 6, and 7, you have homework yet again. And then week 8 is the final exam, so you'll have an exam due. So this is it's the perfect number of weeks in that everything is due Sunday nights. So these are all Sunday dates. I'll go back to the top here. June 3rd would be the first Sunday that our course is technically open. So everything is due Sunday night, so it's kind of easy to remember that you can tell yourself, okay, however you're divvying up your time during the week, Sunday night is when you'll always need to have whatever it is you're working on for that week due. Like I said before, you can work ahead. I've had lots of people in the first week of the semester finish the entire course. I don't know how they find the number of hours to do that in 1 week, but maybe not 1 week, maybe in a couple of weeks, people will finish the whole course. They just say, I just wanted to power through it and be done with it. That's fine. You're welcome to do that. But the pacing is kind of reasonable, that it's, like I said, in some weeks it'll be less than 20 hours. I mean, I got to be honest. In the first week, this is a pretty easy homework assignment and a pretty light content. So you should be able to finish in a couple of hours or a few hours, I would say. So that's certainly not too bad. But in other weeks, I'll go ahead and say week 5 and week 6, which are the first 2 weeks after the midterm. These are enormous weeks. I don't even know how many hours. I have many, many hours of videos for you to watch. And the homework is long and somewhat, I would say, quite difficult. So these are the weeks where you're going to probably be working more than 20 hours. But anyway, but feel free to explore around, budget your time appropriately. I don't think there's too much more to say about Canvas. Like I said, the exams are here. Each of the 2 exams, you can click on for information first. If you just click on this, it'll say, oh, hey, here's an exam, and it's about these things. And then the actual exam is down here. The little rocket ship is the icon for this is the actual exam. So when you click on this, you'll get a little intro screen. And then it'll say, do you want to begin the quiz or exam? And then once you do that, you're in. For the other weeks, let me just click on maybe this week. When you click on video lectures, you'll get videos. So these are just YouTube videos, which you're welcome to either play right here. If I hit play, which I won't, so I don't drown myself out, they'll play right here in Canvas if you'd rather. You may also... I guess I have to hit play. Here, I'll do it. Maybe I'll just mute it. You can also click on watch on YouTube, and of course it'll pop it out into a YouTube browser. I believe you can hit this, and it will blow this up to full screen. You can obviously play around with the volume. I think you can turn captioning on if you want to. Yeah, and obviously you can skip ahead or go back and pause and things like that. So there certainly are some benefits if you've never done an online course before. There's certainly some benefits of online versus in person, which is that you can rewatch and pause and all that other good stuff, which you can't really do live and in person. So anyway, so the videos are all here. I think they're all reasonably well constructed. So I'll go back to the homepage here. Right, so each unit, roughly speaking, has a couple of things. These announcements, you can click on them if you want. I think in some semester, was big on posting things. I'll also be sending you emails every week, which more or less contain probably this stuff, so you probably don't really have to worry too much about that. But you'll see a link for video lectures, and then you'll see a link for slides. So the slides that are here, if you click on this, these are just the PowerPoint slides that I'm voicing over in the videos. So you don't need to click on this ever, but I've had some students say that they would like to have, the actual PowerPoint slides to be able to take notes on or do other things. So they're here if you want them. And then this, when you click on this doesn't really say much. Here, I'll click on it. This is mostly just so that in Canvas, there's a grade book. This is where your official grades will be here in Canvas. I mainly just do this so that I have a place to put a grade for each of your homework assignments. So this is just a little thing that says go over to My Stat Lab and do the homework, right? So you're not actually completing any of the homework in Canvas. So I think that's about it for Canvas stuff. So let me show you one last thing, which is, so the course syllabus that we looked at earlier in the video is here. These are the instructions for purchasing access to My Stat Lab, which is the ebook and homework system. So I won't open this, but if you click on this, you get very easy to follow instructions for how to buy access. So, and the other thing I'll just point out before I switch over, then we'll switch over to My Stat Lab in a minute, is that for the first week only, you're listening to this video that's posted here in the intro video thing. There is no video lecture for the first week. Instead, I ask you just to read in the ebook. This is the only week where I'm asking you to do that, mainly just because an intro video or a video about the actual material would be kind of silly. It'd be mostly me just reading the ebook to you. So for the first week only, the assignment is to actually go. Here, I'll click on it. The assignment is going to be to go. So here's the video that you're watching. It's a very meta thing that we've clicked on it. So for week 1, go to the ebook, which I'll show you in a second. Read the first chapter, which there are 3 sections, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then click on the homework for chapter 1, which will just be a series of mostly multiple choice or true, false, and types of questions, and do this first assignment. That's for the first week. For other weeks, you'll be coming to Canvas and watching videos. For all the other weeks, there's video lectures. So you won't really need to use the ebook a whole lot beyond the first week. The reason why you purchase it for 1 week of material is that you will do the homework every single week in the My Stat Lab. And buying the homework access is the same price as buying the homework access plus the ebook. So you might as well have the ebook. It's basically for free. So, okay. So let me switch over to, this is my stat lab or my lab statistics or whatever they're calling it nowadays. So when you log into My Stat Lab, you should get something that looks something like this, I would hope. There's a lot of stuff here, and I'll just say, try not to get overwhelmed. You will use very few things in this entire interface, but some people use this basically as their, sort of equivalent of a Canvas page. So that's why there's so many bells and whistles here. Yours might look a little different because I'm an instructor, but it should look more or less like this. So when you get into here, the only place, well, there's a couple places, but primarily the only place you need to click is homework, which they're also listed down here. But if you click on homework, you should see these are the 6 homework assignments for the whole semester. You can see that there are due dates here in June and then in July for the second half. These are the only 6 assignments that you have to actually complete, that you're actually getting credit for. Anything else that you see and all this other stuff is up to you. You're welcome to do stuff, but you don't need to. So these will be the 6 assignments that you complete. As you can see, they're due Sundays, right? These are all Sunday nights dates. So if you click on an assignment, I'll just click on one that's like this one, for example. Obviously, you probably want to start with the first one, but I'll click on this one. When you click on an assignment, this little, I don't know, summary page here, it tells you your score so far. Obviously, I haven't done anything yet. And then the questions are down here. So if you click on, you obviously probably want to start on question 1, but you can click on any question you want. And you can do these in any order. You can do 3 of them today, and then do the next 3 the next day, and come back 3 days later and do the rest of them. That's fine. It'll save your, or you can save your progress, so you don't have to do this all at one time. So let me just click on a random question. I'll pick a sort of ladder question so that hopefully it's got some number things in it. And it'll pop up a little window here, and this is the problem. So of course, some of them will have more than one part. This one appears to maybe only have one part. And here's the question, and sometimes there's a picture, sometimes there's a data chart. Some of them will have little links that you can click on to copy the data, and then you can sort of paste it into Excel. Most of the data charts are pretty small, though, so you could probably just manually copy and paste them over. But and then there's one or more questions that usually give you some information about how much you should round and things like that. So I'm just going to make up an answer. I don't really know what the answer to this question is, so I'm going to make up an answer and say 30% or 0.30. And then you can come down here in the bottom and say check answer. Okay, and then of course it does give you some advice. Now I got to be honest, in some cases the advice is useful, and in other cases it's not so useful. And the main reason just being that, I'm always trying to show you the easiest way to do something, or the most direct way. I'm also showing you how to do all this stuff in Excel, which the book does not reference Excel directly anyway. And so it may be instructing you to do problems in a somewhat longer fashion, which, you're welcome to do that, but sometimes this advice, take it with a grain of salt. It may or may not actually be that useful. I would say, even though you don't know what any of this means, of these, six lines, I would say some of this advice, like this last sentence, is useful, and most of the rest of this is not useful. So it'll make more sense when you obviously understand the content. But okay, the point is I answered that question wrong, and now it's going to let me try again. And hopefully the idea would be that I guess it correctly this time, so I'll at least guess a different number. And I hit check answer again. And again, it tells me that that's wrong, and I think this is the same advice. So it'll let me do this maybe one more time. I think for fill-in questions, it lets you try them generally 3 times before it says final check. So I'm going to do this. I'm sure that this answer is wrong. And then it's going to tell you the right answer. And you have the option of, you can just move on and say, okay, I got this wrong, but I'm done with it. You can move on, or you can request a similar question. And if you hit this similar question, you're going to get a new version of the same question. And if you do it correctly, you still get credit for it. I'm going to show you, though, so if you did that, you'd get that. I'll hit next question just to say let's move on. And then, of course, you go on to the next question. Now, at some point, you say, okay, I've done some work and blah, 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 and you say, I'm done with this. If you hit save, and I think if you try to close this, it'll ask you if you want to save, but you could always just be a good person and remind yourself to hit save as soon as you're finished with whatever work you've been doing. So if I hit save, if I'm done for the day or whatever, it saves my progress, which obviously wasn't very good because I did one question and I got it wrong. So this will fill in with, hopefully, green checks mean you got it right. Red X's obviously mean you got it wrong. But you can even come back if it's 3 days later. I can still come back here and say, okay, hey, I got question 10 wrong. Let me click on it. And it'll show you the wrong version. Right, so it'll show you the answer, right? So it'll say, okay, here's the same question, here's the right answer, and I think it shows you this, that if you click on the red, it'll at least give you your most recent answer that was wrong. But the point isn't so much to do that, but it does still let you ask for a similar question. So if I hit that, it'll now generate a brand new version of this question. And if I get it right this time, which I don't actually know what the answer to this question is, so I'll just randomly guess something and hope it's sort of right. No, it's not. Well, whatever. Okay. But the point is, if I was able to get it right now, I would get credit for it. It would still give me, if I got it right, this would change and would say 1 out of 1 point, right? So, okay, so it's fairly intuitive, I think, using the system here. You can, again, jump around from problem to problem. And one last thing I'll say, though, about the homework is that while it does let you do this as many times as you want, you can request similar problems over and over again. The very best piece of advice that I have for you is don't rely on that for this is how I get questions right, is I try 5 different things because I know one of those 5 things is probably the right thing to do. You may get the credit on the homework and you may have a 100% homework average, but this is the worst thing you can do because it lets you think you're doing well. I will unfortunately tell you a typical thing that happens in this class is that people have a very high homework average and do very poorly on the exams. Not everybody, obviously, but there are always some people who kind of just click their way through getting the points in the homework and don't really understand the questions or what they're doing. They're just sort of good at guessing and things like that. I promise you this is not going to turn out well on the exam because, first of all, in the exams, you only get one guess and you don't get, it's not quite the same format either. So you really do want to do the very best job in homework, which isn't necessarily means, oh, I got 100 on this assignment. What you really want to get out of the homework is the knowledge of, oh, okay, I fully understand this problem. My advice would be that if you're doing problems, first of all, I would advise you to do them on paper, or have, a notebook with you so that you can kind of say, okay, I'm going to start this homework and do the problems out. I mean, you're obviously going to type your answers in here to get credit, but do them out because I think it's helpful to have a written record. I mean, the only bad thing about my terrible attempt on question 10 is that I can't see the 3 or 4 attempts that I've made right now. And even if I could see the numerical answer, I don't know what steps I did. So my best advice to you when doing homework, especially for the quantitative questions, which is most of them, is do them out on paper. That way, if you do need to do a problem 2 or 3 or 4 times to get it right, you at least have a written record of all the things you did that were wrong. And believe it or not, the things you did that were wrong are just as important as the things you did that was correct, because it should hopefully then show you, okay, I tried this problem and I did it wrong twice, but the first time I did it wrong, I messed up because I blah blah blah, and the second time I did it wrong, I messed up because I blah blah blah. But the third time was the right way to do it because I noticed that it said greater than, and so that's what led me to get this right. That would be the perfect treatment of a problem, would be for you to, on paper, say, sort of leave yourself evidence, leave yourself advice. Because on an exam, the exams are obviously open book and open notes because you're taking it in your living room or somewhere. So you can look back and then say, oh, okay, I did a problem like this in the homework. Oh, I got it wrong twice, but here are the reasons why I got it wrong, which are informative and hopefully will help you avoid those issues then on the exam. So be really, really careful here. Again, the most dangerous thing you can do is to be clicking through this homework just to get the points. The points don't add up to all that much. So you really do want to make sure that you're taking full advantage of the extra chances, but do it responsibly where you're really being critical. And if you have questions, of course, about homework or anything, you're welcome to email me. I'll usually ask you to tell me what you've done so far in a problem. So if you say, I'm stuck on question 10, it would be helpful, and if you don't send it to me, I will probably just ask you, send me what you've done so far. And for that, I just mean take a photo of the paperwork that you've done you've attempted it 2 or 3 times or something, and you keep getting it wrong. Send me a picture of what you've done. That's the best way that I can then say, okay, I think where you went wrong is blah, 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 and think about how you should blah, 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 and stuff like that. So I've said probably way too much about that. So if I click back on homework for just a second, right, so here are all of the assignments, and you will, your scores will, obviously, as you complete them, will be here. I will transfer your scores over into Canvas. It's okay, don't worry and don't email me that, I completed the assignment in my stat lab, but in Canvas, there's no grade for it yet. I know that because I have to manually, import your grades from here into Canvas. So it's fine as long as whatever grade you see here, as long as it appears, or when you click on an assignment, your grade appears at the top. That's fine. You completed it and it was saved, so don't worry. I will usually wait until after the due dates to transfer the grades over, just because some people are going to be, doing it up until the very, very last minute. So, okay, so that's it for homework. The only other thing that's in my stat lab that I wanted to show you is that this is where you go to get to the ebook. So if you click on chapter contents, I don't know why they didn't just call this ebook, but chapter contents. And then if you click on a chapter, you will see that you get a little screen over here. So if I click on chapter 1, you'll get stuff here and stuff here. And again, lots and lots of stuff. You can click on a section, and if you click on a section, I'll click on section 1.1, for example, there are videos. Now, these aren't my videos. These are videos that the textbook company made, which, again, you're welcome to watch them. But if you want the actual ebook, if you click on multimedia text, this will open up the actual book. They tried to help you here by breaking it down into sections. So if you click on this, I think if I click on this won't work because I haven't actually paid for the ebook, obviously, as the instructor, but you should be able to click on this and you'll get basically like a PDF style kind of document that you can scroll through and read, and it's just a regular book. Again, none of this other stuff is anything that you need to do, but you're welcome to do these, quizzes at the ends of each chapter and stuff like that. There's a test at the end of each chapter. This is all just extra stuff that you're welcome to use if you want. Okay? So I think that's it for the MyStatLab orientation. So I'll just finish by coming back here to Canvas one last time. So I think this is everything that you need in order to get going with the course. So again, click on Chapter 1, this is where you're watching this video. And then just a reminder that for June 3rd, Sunday, June 3rd, is the due date for the first assignment, which is in my stat lab. So you'll click on this first Chapter 1 Intro to Stats thing, and here's the first assignment are these 15 questions. And again, there's lots of reminders that when it's due and all this other good stuff. So for the first week, read the first 3 sections in the ebook, and then for every other week, you'll be watching my lecture videos here in Canvas in order to learn the material, and then again going over to my stat lab to complete the homework. If you have any questions about anything, content or otherwise, please feel free to email me, and good luck with the course in total, and I'll be in touch roughly once a week or so with just hey, checking in, just a reminder, blah 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 types of emails. So good luck, and you are officially, after you purchase the ebook, which the instructions are here, you're ready to begin the class. So good luck.